The Heavyweight Workbench Single Shelf Kit adds additional storage space and flexibility to the standard heavyweight workbench. Assembly is simple and requires no special skills. This video explains the assembly steps if you are installing this single shelf on an existing heavyweight workbench. If your workbench has not already been assembled, refer to the video titled Heavyweight Single Shelf Kit for New Workbench. Your Heavyweight Workbench Single Shelf Kit comes with the following parts: 4 identical assembly brackets, 24 bracket screws, and 8 surface screws. To complete the assembly, you will need the following tools: a circular or miter saw, a power drill or driver with a Phillips head driver bit, a tape measure, and a pair of safety goggles. The Heavyweight Workbench Single Shelf can be assembled in a range of sizes. Material cut lists for the most popular 5 and 8 foot lengths are included. Assembly steps are the same for all sizes. For the 5-foot workbench single shelf kit, you'll need 2 8-foot 2x4s and 1 24 by 60 inch piece of sheet material for the shelf. While standard plywood is an excellent option, particle board, MDF board, OSB board, or other similar materials can also be used. For the strongest shelf, 3/4 inch thick material should be used. These materials can be purchased from your local home improvement store or lumberyard. If you are assembling the single shelf kit with the 8-foot workbench, you'll need 3 8-foot 2x4s and 1 24 by 96 inch piece of sheet material. For this demonstration, we will be assembling a shelf for a 5-foot workbench. You will follow the same assembly process for all other sizes, making sure you cut all materials to the proper size for your workbench. Begin by cutting the support rails to the correct lengths for your lumber. Using the tape measure and saw, measure and cut one 56.5 inch long front-back support rail and one 20 5/8 inch long side support rail from each of the 2 8-foot 2x4s. You will end up with 2 long and 2 short rails when done. Using one of the provided assembly brackets at each corner, assemble the workbench shelf by creating a rectangle with 2 56.5 inch long support rails for the shelf length and 2 20 5/8 inch long side support rails for the depth. Once the frame is assembled, use moderate pressure to hold the rails in place. Secure each of the 4 corner brackets with 2 2 3/4 inch long bracket screws per corner. The screws will be driven through the long rail into the ends of the short rail. When secure, set the shelf frame aside. Now, with your existing heavyweight workbench, determine the height of your new shelf and place a mark on the inside of each workbench leg at the desired height. At each mark, drive a 1 1/2 inch long surface screw 1 inch deep, leaving 1/2 inch of the screw exposed. These screws are temporary and will be used to align the workbench shelf in the next step. Now flip the workbench upside down, resting on its top. Remove the existing 16 bracket screws from the bottom shelf assembly bracket. Do not discard them. Now slide the workbench bottom shelf down the legs until it rests on the exposed surface screws. And re-secure the shelf frame with the 16 bracket screws you just removed. Remove the exposed temporary alignment screws. Next, locate the alignment holes made when originally installing the workbench bottom shelf. They can be found 25 1/2 inches from the workbench top. Remember, the bench is upside down. And temporarily reinstall the 1 1/2 inch long surface screws from the previous step, leaving 1/2 inch exposed. Slide the new workbench shelf frame assembled at the beginning of this video onto the legs until it rests on the exposed surface screws. And secure with the remaining 16 2 3/4 inch long bracket screws. Once the shelf is secure, remove the 4 temporary exposed alignment screws. Now flip the workbench right side up. With a tape measure, confirm the workbench shelf length needed, measuring the distance between the inside of the legs. You will need to trim the bottom shelf to match this dimension. Place the cut-to-size shelf surface on the bottom shelf frame and secure it to the rails, using the remaining 8 1 1/2 inch long surface screws evenly placed. This completes the assembly of the Heavyweight Single Shelf Kit.